Welcome to Trial by Wine. We take a closer look at crimes that highlight how fascinating humans can be. Schmitty, Swanny and Clarkey visit crimes and run them through their jury of three, debating both sides of the case to agree an appropriate, if totally fictitious, sentence. Please be advised, Trial by Wine may include explicit or disturbing content and will include drunken rambling. Listener discretion is advised. All right, how are we?
Fabbo for a Wednesday.
Good, yeah.
Oh, it is a Wednesday, isn't it? I've had a very unusual week where today feels like it could be a Thursday or a Tuesday. Everything's a little bit out of sync. Right. Some things have happened earlier in the week that would normally happen later. And, then it sort of throws you off. Mm-hmm. Whereas last week flew. This one might drag a little, I fear. But anyway, all good other than that. What's happening with you guys? What's news?
I'm having a slightly better week than I had last week. I do know.
Hurrah!
Who knows what ends up in the cut of last week's episode, but there was quite a lot of complaining from all of us. So I'm feeling better. And we are 2.5 weeks out from Joseph and his Technicolor Dreamcoat. So I'll be doing lots of rehearsals over the next 2 weeks, and then we're into showtime. That's coming together nicely. So, yep, all good, really.
Super. Yes, all is good. We're actually doing a Cabana and Strasbourg making day on Sunday, which is very exciting. I don't mind a bit of Stras.
I don't mind a bit of Cabana.
There you go.
This is quite interesting.
Cabanossi.
That's what I was going to say. Now we have to do the whole, what is it, state by state by state by state.
What's it in Perth?
I don't know. They've got some weird name. Whatever you guys we call Devon in New South Wales.
That's Stras, isn't it?
Is that probably?
I reckon
and they
Devon's
call it Fritz.
Different. Yeah, Fritz
is more like
Fritz and Devon are similar.
Same, yeah. I forgot what they call it here. They call it. I don't know if it's. I'm getting confused. I only read it recently, but they don't call it Devon. Fritz is apparently
Fritz is
what
like
they call
Devon.
in Adelaide, a very Germanic kind of thing where they have names for things like Fritz. Apparently, is Devon.
Where does it belong? Like, because I can look at Stras and go, you put that on a bit of toast with some tomato sauce or something.
Yeah, is it
or ham? There's a lot of things.
Same
Mortadella,
thing,
I'm like, what are you? I don't want it in my sandwich. I don't get it. I don't know where I would serve it if I had some.
It's so strange. It's repulsed me my whole life. And there were so many awful, awful gags where I grew up about people who had, or how do I say this, Devon skin or Devon nipples. Or mortadella.
Devon nipples? What is that?
A big pink kind of areola.
Like the size of a slice of Devon.
I think so.
That could be quite large.
That's funny.
Anything that's sort of related to, Devon or mortadella was a real slur where I grew up in terms of it relating to your white bit skin. Do you know what I mean? It certainly wasn't aimed at Italians. Trust me, they would not have had that problem. It was more, their skin looked like Devon. Like if you were a bit pale and got a bit of a pink. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, sunburn. It was a real. So, but I've only just thought of that then. I must be holding on to it. Sounds like a teenage girl kind of bitchy, nasty thing to say to someone.
Well, at least you're not calling them bung Fritz, because apparently Devon is also known not just as Fritz in some places, but as bung Fritz in South Australia and Windsor sausage in parts of Queensland.
Wow, what's it known in WA? Because I probably have heard it, but I've forgotten. I've heard them say it over here, and I've realised what it is. Maybe they call it Stras.
It's just pressed meat, isn't it?
Well,
just
no one's walking around going, pressed meat sandwich.
Well, it's like the seafood, what do they call it, reformed seafood?
Oh, that I'm a little bit more familiar with because I worked at Sizzler. Seafood extender.
Yeah, that's it, extender.
I was obsessed with that. I used to eat that.
Really?
That was my favourite thing on the salad bar from the age of when I worked at Sizzler when I was at uni. So, seafood extender. So God knows what it is, but it ain't seafood. No. Seafood extender was their seafood salad. It was that with some kind of creamy sort of sauce and chopped up celery through it, and I loved it. Now I think I'd love to see me actually looking at it now and see if I could stomach it.
Devon is apparently also called luncheon or polony.
Polony maybe is WA. Maybe that's polony, I think, WA. Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
I don't believe any of them. I only believe that it's actually really called Devon, and I think everyone else is just having a land.
It comes from Devon originally.
Back to you, boys. Where will you be making your cabana?
In the valley at someone's house.
You're not workshopping at home, or is there like a cabana workshop?
Well, no, there's a group of people getting together who are all locals, and we take
kill the
cheese
pig.
and
Kill
dips
the pig.
and wine, and we're taking our own pork mince.
All right,
already minced, so we're not even doing it with
not
slabs
even hanging
of
it or
pig.
anything. Right? Okay.
No, and then we'll just make it all
Delicious.
I don't mean to be like, maybe cabana does. I was like, I don't think any of those things actually have meat in them. Is it like it's like lips and arseholes and sawdust? Isn't that like the joke?
Well, we're taking pork mince, so
that's very
this
fancy.
version
God knows
will.
what it
Yeah,
taste
yeah.
like. Yeah, I know.
Well, Strasbourg, I just
Highbrow.
read, is made of chunks of meat, and it's more like an actual sausage. And
yeah,
fat.
that's what I was saying. Strasbourg is different, where Devon's just mush put together into
yes, that's what I think. Mush feels like a reconstituted something. Pork extender. Tell me though, do you think you could knock out a bit of brawn while you're at it? My grandparents used to have that.
All a pig's
with
head.
like
and
a bit of the jelly and oh my gosh.
My mum used to
there'd be none of that.
Come in the house and there'd be a pig's head boiling on the stove.
Tongue and brawn. Oh, and my mum told me black pudding, all that stuff. They loved it.
It's enough to put you off pork. It really is.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe you can introduce the concept of Devon skin and nipples at the cabana workshop.
I'm gonna do it like you did with the raspberries, but get 2 slabs of straws and go.
Ooh, my nipples looking big in this. Yeah,
what's happened to my nipples? Or I might go the Windsor sausage look instead.
I think a couple of
Has anyone seen my Windsor sausage? I seem to have misplaced it.
A little bit of cabanossi, 2 little cabanossi ones. Very good.
Yes.
Discreet. All right, well, we probably should get off the lunch and meat discussion. I suppose we should introduce ourselves. I'm Schmitty.
I'm Swanny.
And I'm Clarky. And together we are
Trial by Wine.
And what are we drinking?
I'm going to crack open a personal
Coke Zero.
Coke Zero.
And it's the right size, and hopefully it will go to all the right places.
Yes. Yeah. Touch the places I need to.
And boys, what are you drinking?
We're staying true to our name and having a wine.
Yeah, look at you.
Lovely.
It must be spring.
Yeah. It's still freezing, but it's wine. It's a Feathertop Gris de Gris, which sounds rather fancy. Gris de Gris. And yourself?
Thanks for asking, am drinking a gin and tonic.
Is it?
So if you recall, I think last week I might have had a James May gin. Yeah. I'm still working on that bottle because, as I said, very, very, very strong. It's a Navy gin. It's 57%. And I only need a teeny tiny amount per
it's a Navy gin,
glass.
isn't it? Maybe it was the week before.
So who's got a story for us today?
I do. I have a story.
Cool.
I've been sitting on this story for quite a while, as you might well know. So, it's one of those things I keep looking at and I keep finding more about the backstory, which is I actually find
more interesting,
way more interesting than the actual. Not that the crime.
No offense.
I do have a bit of a caveat, which is this crime apparently was huge news in Australia, but I didn't live here at the time.
Okay,
so I don't know about it, but. The more I sort of look into it, I think that any man and their dog would see it probably would have known.
Breaking your own rules. It's an Australian story.
I know, but I feel quite. I think
everyone in it's dead. She feels safe.
Not quite, but I feel like I feel like
no, stop it.
Stop it. So I said I apologise if you've heard of it before, but I actually think it's probably quite interesting, and it's a little bit old now, so it's probably worth revisiting. Cool. But I think you will have all lived here at that point. Okay, so my sources are The Guardian, 7news.com, Brisbane Times, good old Wikipedia, abc.news, and there were 2 different documentaries that I watched. One was a 60-minute story, which was called Wife Killer, and there was another episode of A Crime Down Under, which was just called Allison Bayden Clay. And I also used the Allison Bayden Clay Foundation website, which is where I've got some information about the daughters and where they are now. Yeah, that's it. Where shall we start? From a geography point of view, I'm going to take you to a place called Brookfield. And Brookfield it's considered a suburb of Brisbane in Queensland, but it's a semi-rural suburb, and it's only got a very small population. So even in 2020, it only had 3,640 permanent residents. And the way it's sort of described is It sounds lovely. I can't actually think of another place that I'd be able to compare it to, just because of the distances, because they're saying it's country life with sort of city convenience, because you can get into Brisbane City within a relatively short period of time. Like, I looked it up. Somewhere it said 20 minutes, but, when I'm looking at the map, I reckon it's closer to about 35. So it's not exactly
like Sunbury.
that close.
Maybe. Sunbury's got a lot more than 3,500 people in it.
Yeah. I don't it's not like a big town or anything like that. Yeah. Correct. And so, but it's called a residential, it's still known as a residential suburb, but it is semi-rural, and it was considered like it's in the western suburbs of Brisbane. It has a real sort of country feel and a very close-knit community. Not lots of young families, but some young families are out there. Then there'd be sort of older people who'd been there for a long time. Its sort of pride is its showground and its local show.
Sounds more like Kyneton, actually. Sounds quite like Kyneton.
Does it? Yeah. It's sort of like they said, I've heard it described as having an air of genteel and rural affluence. So it was maybe wealthy people kind of with one foot in the country and one foot, one foot in the big smoke.
Okay.
The old money country folk.
Yeah. So this is where the family that I'm going to introduce you to have lived for some time, and we're going back to 2012 roughly. So this family was what most people would consider a very middle class, successful professional mother and father, 3 beautiful girls who aged between probably about 5 and 10, maybe 12, so young, a young family, little girls. Yep. And their grandparents also were living not too far away. They lived about 200 metres from the showground, and they had this sort of life that to the outside looked really quite nice and I guess somewhat aspirational. They've seemed to have straddled that thing of going, they've both, the parents have got careers or had careers, and they're part of the local community and well respected. So certainly known by everybody in town and sort of and beyond, within Brisbane. I need to introduce you to Gerard Bayden Clay and his wife Allison Bayden Clay. And
I know
Bayden
the name.
Clay, it may or may not ring bells for certain Clay. Yeah. So actually, Bayden Clay, there's an importance in the name itself, and that is because Gerard Bayden Clay was actually born in 1970 in England, but his family moved to Zimbabwe, which was then Rhodesia, where his great-grandfather was the founder of the Boy Scouts. So you may have heard Baden Powell.
Baden
Powell, yes. So that's where, and that's why they kept it in their name. So they've gone back. There's this huge legacy with his great-grandfather being the originator of Boy Scouts and really a British hero. So certainly when you're in the UK, there's lots of references to it. Buildings are named after it. It's very, for someone who has zero interest in it, even I had always sort of been aware of that and, sort of would know the name once, again, when it had been triggered in my memory. So Bayden Clay is obviously the gentleman I'm talking about, Gerard Bayden Clay's grandmother, Betty, Lord Baden Powell's youngest child, married colonial civil servant Jervis Clay in 1936. The Clay had 4 children, the third of whom, Nigel Clay, was Bayden Clay's father. When Gerard Bayden Clay was just 10, his family migrated to Australia. But no one would recognise the family's heritage with the surname Clay, so the Clays became the Bayden Clays. Yeah. So it's important to them that people knew or would question, why have you got a double-barreled surname? Because that would be quite unusual in Australia, right? Or anyone who perhaps, and certainly back in those days, a family who'd come from there, what's the connection? And there's apparently 5 streets in Australia that with their name and a hotel in Melbourne. So maybe that rings a bell for you guys as well, I'm not sure. But all this to say that Mr. Bayden Clay, Gerard Bayden Clay, mentioned his lineage often.
Okay.
It was really part of his persona.
Made him feel important. Yep.
Absolutely. And he really liked to lean into the ideals of his great-grandfather. So, yes, Gerard's personal philosophy of ethical excellence and team loyalty derived from his lineage as the great-grandson of International Scouts leader Robert Baden Powell have found their perfect landing spot in the field of real estate. Now, he wrote that because that's what he ended up working. He was a real estate professional. So he's made that connection.
Oh, yeah.
He's
God, I still haven't.
Yes. So I'll just repeat that because this is something that he had written himself.
I didn't see the real estate coming.
No, I didn't think you would. Gerard's personal philosophy of ethical excellence and team loyalty, derived from his lineage as the great-grandson of International Scouts leader Robert Baden Powell, have found their perfect landing spot in the field of real estate.
Ethical excellence.
So he mentions it constantly.
It's a bit of a stretch, isn't it?
I think maybe.
Oh, shit.
I don't think that anyone who's going to buy or sell a house will think, well, that would really work for me. Anyway, so let me tell you a little bit about Gerard Bayden Clay. He was the consummate salesman, and his favourite product was
himself.
Gerard Bayden Clay. Yeah, successful businessman, loving husband, doting father, and community leader. He's nearly a caricature. I've heard him described as the man who was Mr. Middle Class, and he really projected, like if you look at sort of the tenets of what you think that might involve, he really played them up. So as I said, successful businessman, loving husband, doting father, community leader. So he was involved in lots of things, certainly within Brookfield, but his role sort of went further afield. He rubbed shoulders with politicians and wealthy entrepreneurs, and he got to sell some quite prestigious properties within the affluent sort of western suburb market of Brisbane. He also was the kind of person who was a big public speaker, so he'd address high school students, and he was quite often, spruiking the keys of success. So he's the kind of person who was on councils and boards, and, a school would say, oh, we've got a careers day going, who's going to put their hand up and do this?
Do it.
And Gerard Bayden Clay would be like, actually, another opportunity to mention my lineage and, how successful I am. So
just in case you'd forgotten, I thought I'd remind you, I'm Gerard Bayden Clay of Baden Powell fame.
That's apparently he never hesitated to drop it into a conversation or a sales pitch at work.
He's annoying already, isn't he?
Do you think it helps, though? Do you think it...
Surely most people have done it for a time. I don't know.
In his head, maybe.
I don't know that many Australians would necessarily
care
one way or the other.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I have heard, I've seen, him described in various ways. I've seen some people who say, such a competent man, doing great work in a community or whatever else. And other people just outright met him, thought he was an absolute tosser.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Where, again, and that doesn't surprise me either. That's kind of things where, that we all have like these sort of radar for certain personality types and attributes, certainly in a professional environment. When somebody walks in, I mean, if that man walked into your business situations and said any of the stuff that I've mentioned and, the Boy Scout thing, you'd be like, what? Why are you telling me that? Like,
it's got nothing to do.
No one asked you that. And we're just striking up an initial conversation or whatever else. But from the outset, it was always there. So some people know straight away, oh, their bullshit meter's up. Whereas other people thought, wow, this guy's quite successful, and we're a little bit impressed. So, it goes both ways, I guess.
I think that phrase about the ethical excellence and blah, 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 if you were looking for a real estate agent and that was on his website, you'd just skip over. Well, I would skip over it. I'd be like, God.
Well, no, I mean, if you were looking for a real estate agent who knew a little bit about orienteering or how to light an outdoor fire, it could be quite useful.
Survival skills.
Dip, 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 dob, dob, dob,
Dib, 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 dob, dob,
if you had a bit
dob.
of
Do you know what that means?
No idea.
I don't know.
So the scout leader would say dib, 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 which is do your best, do your best. And then the little kids would say we'll dob, 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 which is do our best.
Oh, sweet.
Oh.
So that's what it all was. What a lovely little bit of brainwashing.
Oh.
Well, yes, and they knew how to do orienteering.
And light fires and change tyres and
useful.
All those things.
Gerard Bayden Clay's life would probably have continued pretty much unnoticed. He was, a bit of a big fish in Brisbane society, but he had this image of projecting the loving husband and successful businessman facade, but he was also not necessarily that person behind the scenes. In reality, Bayden Clay
is he the only one ever that's put on a public persona and a horrible home?
No. In the background, he had numerous lovers and was in a unhappy marriage. It was failing, and also to add to that, his real estate business was also sort of starting to spiral out of control, and he owed quite a bit of money.
That's because people didn't need fires lit or orienteering, so they went to other estate agents.
They just needed properties sold. We never did that at Scouts.
No. So So although he was trying to give off the persona of his philosophy of ethical excellence and team loyalty, in fact, he had an online profile that on New Year's Eve in 2010, he had created one and put it on a swingers and online dating website / adult friend finder under the pseudonym Bruce Overland. So he was actively looking for action as well as coming across it like in his work life as well.
Bruce Overland. It sounds
Bruce
like
Overland.
Well, see, I'm going more overland as opposed to overland, but it makes me think of what's the character? You know, the guy who plays Kath Day Knight's husband, Cal.
Yes.
You know how he
Cal.
Russell Coit.
Russell Coit. Yeah, it's got Russell Coit vibes, don't you think? Bruce Overland.
Bruce Overland.
It's Russell Coit and my mate Bruce Overland. Oh, yuck.
Sounds like he's desperately trying to sound posh with the Overland, but Bruce
might be
Overland.
the Leyland brothers.
I get a Leyland brothers.
Well, isn't that Russell
kind of,
Coit supposed to be being like a Leyland brother?
I don't really know.
Yeah, I think so.
Although, younger generations won't know what the hell that is, but we do, yeah.
Oh, I found out the other day there was someone who was a Western Australian version of the Leyland brothers because I was talking about Albie Mangles.
Oh, yeah.
Albie, right?
Yeah.
So I was talking about Albie Mangles, and then we were talking about someone else. The girls that I was with started talking about this person who was like Albie Mangles, whatever else. And I'm like, no idea. And someone said, normally you're pretty good at this stuff, Carla. And I went, I am. I've got no idea who you're talking about. Are you sure it's not like a personality? And sure enough, it was. It was someone who was born here, raised here, died here, never been anywhere else, I don't think, but was that kind of character. Because then they were like, have you heard of the Leyland brothers? I'm like, of course I've bloody heard of the Leyland brothers. I think you're going to find this person's local.
I don't live under a rock.
Right, I know. And it was a local thing.
Travel all over the countryside.
Not ask the Leyland.
Travel all over Western Australia only.
Yeah. This guy, I think, just hung around Perth. But it made me laugh because I was like, I think you need to look into that because I would know because I had dressed my children up for an Australia Day
That's the Leyland
thing.
Brothers.
As Strop and Hogs when they were at the international school. And their costumes were excellent. And I had worked out the following year, this is the twins, I was going to see them as the Leyland brothers. And I was trying to work out how I was going to get the T-shirts and the short shorts. Mal and what's the other one's name? Can you remember?
Mike and Mal.
Mike and Mal Leyland, yeah. But we never we changed schools, so we didn't have to do that. But, I had the Leyland brothers earmarked for the following year. I was really onto something. I think the kids didn't care about it nearly as much as I did. Anyway, so how did this Bruce Overlord describe himself?
Overlord or Overland?
Sorry, Overland.
Might have been a bit of an overlord, but okay, right.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking of. Yes, married, but don't want to be. Looking for some sex on the side. You don't want to
straight up, fair enough.
I know, fair enough.
No hiding anything there.
Few people in his inner circle had any idea of what was going on, but some did. A former business partner said he came to learn of Bayden Clay's Machiavellian nature and would later give people an insight as to what he was really like. He said he had a public face which was ethical, moral, and upstanding. A lot of his legacy is fueled due to his great-grandfather. He's involved in all the right groups, but it's always about what is in it for him. Yeah. He is politically savvy. He would lecture staff about lying, but would continue affairs. He's just this
hypocritical shit.
Yeah. The same man recalled that on a trip to a Gold Coast conference, Bayden Clay mysteriously checked out of his hotel room at midnight, and another conference in Sydney where he was openly affectionate with a colleague after having spent the night before with another colleague and lover. So it was kind of like in the company of certain people, he obviously didn't necessarily let his guard down, but they knew what was going on.
What goes on to us stays
going
on
to the
to
office
us.
and a little bit of that. It just was not a great guy.
What year is this?
This is around 2010, 11, 12.
So those should have known better. Yep.
So now I would like to introduce you to his wife, Allison Bayden Clay. And she had previously been a high achiever. So by the time we meet her, I don't think she's doing what she did in terms of career. She's sort of more a stay-at-home mum, but she's dabbling in little bits and pieces, but she had been very successful. Rather sweetly, when she was younger, she'd earned a coveted place on the Australian Youth Ballet for 5 years. She was a really good little ballerina. Yep. She received a scholarship to Ipswich Girls Grammar School, where she became school vice captain in her senior year, and she was even later crowned Miss Brisbane. So she was really beautiful and actually very talented and very popular and kind and just, an all-round really popular, lovely girl.
Can I just ask, does she light up the room?
Well, I don't want to say that because that will
means
give everything
she's
away,
definitely
right?
the victim. Yep.
I know, yeah. Although she had not finished her degree in psychology at the University of Queensland, she excelled to become the global head of human resources for Flight Centre.
Jeepers, that is a good job.
Yeah, she was
Didn't
managing.
know that,
She was managing 300 employees in 6 countries at the height of her career, and it was actually at the Flight Centre's George Street office in Sydney where she met a charming young Bayden Clay.
Unfortunate, by the sound of it.
Yeah, yeah. A year later, he proposed to Allison under. This is important because I can't believe this is a thing. The replica Eiffel Tower at Brisbane's La Dolce Vita restaurant.
Oh, nice.
Well, that's confusing. So the French
Italian.
Eiffel Tower at the Italian restaurant.
Well, it's in Queensland.
Isn't that bizarre?
Apologies
Bris
to any
Vegas,
of our
I think, is the
Queensland
term you're
listeners,
looking for.
Yeah, it's Bris Vegas.
But
also
fact.
correct.
Now, Allison was no dummy, right? She also spoke 6 languages.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Wow.
And this passion that she had for ballet was still continued. And I think she still taught ballet occasionally as well. So that was also sort of on the side. So she was busy and talented and warm and intelligent. And she actually asked for a week to think about the proposal before she finally accepted. They were married in 1997 and lived in Sydney for some time before returning to Brisbane in 1999. Allison stopped working shortly before the birth of their first daughter in 2001. And it was then that Gerard, I always call him Gerard.
Gerard.
I never know.
Jerry.
Jerry Bayden how to say that name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go Jerry.
First sort of made his move into real estate, taking a job with Rain and Horn. He had
Rain
big
and
plans.
Horn bag.
Rain and
Rain and Horn, but that's very true. So he had big plans, and I think things went pretty well for a while, but I'm not sure that the marriage was ever great. I think that his personality and her personality combined meant that you had a woman who certainly outwardly was trying so hard to please and put the best foot forward, be a great mum. So she ended up with 3 daughters. And I think he was so interested in what people thought of him externally that I don't really think he cared too much about what he said or did at home. And he was very much an unsupportive and kind of unforgiving partner, like really the kind of guy who would forever be correcting her, saying this is a mess, or, you don't look after yourself, all of that kind of stuff that really starts to eat at somebody's self-confidence.
Correct,
and certainly someone who's had a significant professional profile, as she did, and probably, I mean, if you look at her story, ballerina, school scholarship, really, serious career path.
Successful person.
Successful, she knows how to work hard. She knows how to achieve things. I imagine if you're at home with 3 daughters and a husband who it's all about him and it's all about presenting a certain facade, but actually really not taking the effort to take care of your wife and love her and look after her, I imagine it would be quite difficult. And she did suffer from depression and she was medicated at times, but it was usually on the back of having one of the children. I think it was that's not the right word, triggered it, I guess. So that is in the public domain, but I don't think it was all her personality. It was just, I think she was just being isolated and not loved, basically. And that made things more depressing for her. And then we have to look at his behaviour, and then we start to find out, if he's out having affairs, and plural, not necessarily just one.
Did she know about them, do you think?
I'm going to come on to that.
Okay.
For the most part, no, she didn't. But then she did find out, and I'll sort of talk you through that now. And things sort of did start to change at that point. But by this stage, he'd already undermined their relationship so much and her role within that she was thinking, if only I'd done that, if only I'd given him more sex, if only I'd done that. So the reason we know this is because it's in diaries. So he had big plans and they weren't really going in the way he thought they were going to go. There were a couple of natural disasters happening in Queensland that were affecting the property market. And, between what he was sort of predicting he was going to do and develop and this, that, the other, I just don't think it necessarily all started to come together. And he started to loan money from friends. And then in 2011, his wife discovered that he was having an affair with a woman called Tony McHugh. And Tony McHugh actually worked for him, and she had done so since, I think, 2008. So by this point, they've already been together for like 3 years. But as I've seen it described, he wasn't even faithful to his mistress. So whilst she was the main mistress, there were also other dalliances that he had with other women in the office, everywhere. Like you can see he's also online at the same time as hooking up with Tony McHugh. So Tony McHugh
He's busy.
She had been in a marriage herself that was or had fallen apart. So when he went to Tony, he would say to her, we're in the same boat. You know, we're both kind of just in these marriages for the kids. We're not together at all. So I will leave her. We just have to, you know,
timing
be
or
secret for now, you know, all that kind of stuff. I love you and I will be with you, but let's just leave it for now kind of thing. But that was until Allison found out about that affair. So they met in a McDonald's car park in suburban Brisbane. I want to say it, but I know Indooroopilly. Is that it? Is Indooroopilly. I said it right. Indooroopilly. Yeah, I've got it. Indooroopilly car park. And she said, you know, we need to talk. And she just came straight out and said to him, I know you're having an affair with Tony. And he went, well, yes, I was. But, you know, anyway, he's like, you know, I'll end it. So he agreed to end the affair with McHugh immediately. And he did. He met her at her home and said, I've been caught out. I've just told Al, yep, I've got caught out, and I can't be with you. I need to be with her. I need to be with Allison and the kids.
Because I never had any intention of leaving Allison.
This is what is really weird. He's, you know, then he goes into like this damage control. So he returned to the real estate agent office. She got sacked as well. So he sacked her because obviously she worked. She lost her
job,
partner, boyfriend, lover, and a job. He returned to his office and told each of his staff members individually of his affair with McHugh. I wanted the staff to know the facts straight from me rather than hearing some sort of grapevine version, he said. Later, he even told the principal of his daughter's school about the affair just so she was aware. Don't you find that a bit odd?
Do you think he was doing it because then if anyone went back to Allison, oh, no, he's quite clear about it. He's told everyone.
Oh, yes, he's made a mistake.
Because if he's having 50 other affairs that he hasn't mentioned, but he was so honest about that one that we then don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's to throw people off the. He's
oh,
been
my
caught.
God,
he's been caught.
Yep.
But I'll throw everyone off the scent for everything else. Yeah.
I think you're exactly right. So by this point, the real estate business is in trouble and he has expanded his business and they've moved into larger premises. He's now with Century 21 West Side and they're a more prominent sort of presence in a greater premises, you know, so he's again trying to be the bigger man but not necessarily having the means behind that to make such a gesture. It's all this kind of smoke and mirrors. He's not exactly who he says he is. So his overheads doubled but his revenue didn't, and there were weeks when they were worried about who they would be able to pay or not pay. It was really getting quite serious. They were sort of robbing Peter to pay Paul and taking debt from places where they shouldn't have, you know, other quarters and carrying it over. Just, it was a mess. Yeah. They were not running their business in a good way. Then in January 2011, floods hit Brisbane. So, you know, there's always
I remember the flooding in Brisbane. It was shocking.
And they were completely wiped out. They had 7 new employees and a ridiculously massive lease, and it was all just beyond them. I think this is when he turned to friends, and they were quite happy to help him. The 3 men who had attended Toowoomba Grammar School with Bayden Clay each agreed to lend him $90,000 each by way of a gentleman's agreement, and he'd asked another friend later on for $400,000. So we're talking quite significant numbers here. Yeah, from not one friend, but that's 4 different sources that we know of, kind of thing. By late 2011, Bayden Clay was desperately trying to save his business, but also considering ending his marriage. He and Allison visited at least 3 psychologists together, and I think he just wasn't really that into it. I think he would turn up and sort of go through the motions. But the last consultation with one of these particular psychologists was actually in December 7, 2011, and 2 weeks later, Tony McHugh and Gerard Bayden Clay rekindled their love affair. Bayden Clay instructed Miss McHugh to email him via account using his swinger website pseudonym Bruce Overland.
Good old Brucey.
He promised to be with her unconditionally by July 1, 2012. So you asked before, was there a date? There is a date now. So he's now said that to her. And he addressed one email, GG, gorgeous girl, and he signed off GM, gorgeous man.
Oh, God. So was that date set in December? Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, because you need 6 months.
Yeah, to sort of get it all sorted.
Is that weird? That seems odd to me.
It's not good. It's not healthy, is it? I don't know if you're going to sort it out and give you 6 months. Sure, it has 2 years. End of financial year.
Could be that. Yeah.
What's I can't remember even say the initials. You know when you do all the sales, EF.
EFS.
Sorry, that was even too hard. I was in a bog off kind of place there. Sorry.
End of financial year split.
Yeah.
It's a traditional thing.
I think at this point, the cracks in the marriage are more than evident. And in Allison's diary, she's writing things like, I'd give anything for my partner to love me and make love to me. If only I'd given him more sex, our marriage would have worked and he wouldn't just see me as a mother. But to be honest, he'd been cheating on her for years, maybe the whole time. It wasn't just a recent thing. Apparently, there was a former colleague called Michelle Hammond in 2006. There was another woman called Jackie Crane. Of course, we know about Tony McHugh. And Allison did make an attempt in February of 2012 to sort of, I guess, seduce her husband, and he laughed at her. And he laughed at her undies and told her that she smelled. What a pig.
That reminds me of old mate in Melbourne who did a wife laugh at him and
he killed her.
He killed her and used that as a defense or something.
Yeah, she incensed him. Yeah. I think it's part of the overall abusive behaviour that you described earlier around just belittling her at every opportunity. And she was a successful person. She was a driven person. And now she sees her value wrapped up with this asshole. And that's the awful tragedy of it. I mean, I'm sure it's going to get much more tragic in a moment, but it's just so hard when you're in that sort of situation to see the forest for the trees and to recognise that this person has brought you to a point where you're blaming yourself when they're the arsehole and they should just fuck off. It's very difficult when you're in it to really take that position, I think.
Yeah.
And that would have been really devastating for her. She, when you put yourself out there to be rejected like that is just awful.
Yeah, and I think that what the psychologists have said is she had got it into her mind that it was all her fault in terms of what had happened. Had she got it
into her mind, or had he helped her get that into her mind?
So she thought that, it was because she was, looking after the kids, or because she had suffered from depression. Like, it was all on her. Like, because she didn't realize the extent of his adultery, and then being on all these different websites, let alone financially, she wasn't aware of that either. So it was just a bullshitter, totally gaslighting her the whole way through. And I hate using that word, but I think he probably did. I think it's overused, but I think
it might be appropriate in this occasion.
And I shan't use it again, but there we go.
I watched a film the other day. I can't remember what it was called. Will Ferrell was in it, and he was talking to all these Gen Zs. Is that what the young ones are these days? And they weren't millennials; they were too young. And someone said something about gaslighting, and he said, "Do you even know what that means?" And they were like, "Yeah." And so then he gave a perfect Oxford English Dictionary type description of what gaslighting is, and they go, "Oh, I thought it meant something else." Yeah, no, I haven't been using that right. It was in a film that didn't have that many funny bits, but I did laugh at that.
Yeah. Bayden Clay visited the counsellor with his wife on Monday, April 16, 2012. And at that session, the psychologist was saying to Jared, "Who are you? Like, who are you?" To which he replied by listing his professional achievements.
I'm the grandson of Brad.
He didn't speak anything of personal attributes or his children. He just I think he even talked about the fact that he was the grandson of
Robert Powell. Yeah.
You think he did? Put money on that.
So the psychologist suggested that they spent at least 10 to 15 minutes every second night so that he would sit down with his wife and she would be able to talk and he would be able to listen to her feelings so that she could try and have an audience with her own husband, kind of, because I think he was so shut off to anything that was about her. And so that was, as I said, that was Monday, April the 16th was when that conversation was had, and then they were told that they should do it every second night. However, so that was Monday the 16th, and then on Thursday the 19th, Bayden Clay makes a bit of a tricky phone call to Tony McHugh because he realises that the next day Tony McHugh and Allison are going to be at a function at the same time.
Cool.
And, of course, he hasn't told Allison that he's seeing Tony again. And I dare say I don't know why Tony would be there. I don't know who she's working for at this point. I don't understand any of that. But he lets her know that they're going to be crossing paths. And she says by her own account, she lost it. She absolutely cracks it, and she's like demanding that he tell his wife of the impending run, that they're going to see each other.
About the EFS.
That they're having an affair, they're going to run into each other. But as they're having this conversation, he actually arrives at his parents' place and the girls come up to greet him at the car. So sort of that's kind of the end of that conversation. But she said it was heated and she was sort of giving him ultimatums. You know, you could imagine like, you've got to tell her, or, you know, I can't be in that kind of situation. What are you going to do about it? And it's all well and good to call me and tell me, but you sort this out. She's your wife and you're back with me and you're telling me you love me. If we're going to run into each other, you need to tell her because it's not fair. Now, so that was on the Thursday afternoon. He then goes home after having been at his parents' house, and then things kind of, well, we don't really know what happens, but we do know that the next morning at 7:14 a.m. on Friday, the 20th of April, a call is made to the police, and when asked who it is or what's happening, the gentleman on the phone says, I'm just calling because my wife isn't here. And then the person says, what is that normal? What's happening? And he says, well, I don't know where she is. She normally goes out for a walk of a morning, but she hasn't returned. Then they ask his name and he says, Jared. And she's like, can I have your surname? I'm surprised he didn't give it up front, but not surprising, he didn't. Then he says, Bayden Clay, and your wife's name, Allison Bayden Clay. So that's at 7:14 a.m. on the morning after he's had the conversation with Tony McHugh about the pair of them going to run into each other the next day.
Oh, so before they would have run into each other.
Yeah. So
that's a coincidence.
It is rather a coincidence, isn't it?
She must have overheard and left.
At that point, they send the police out to go and meet with Jared. And when they get there, he's pretty cool, pretty calm. And the house is pretty much immaculate. The bed's made. Like, it is not the kind of
7:14.
7:14. It's perfectly tidy. It's like, oh, we've got guests. It's like what I do when I call it, we've got to pretend no one lives here. When you go into that mode, it's like hiding everything and making it all look like no one lives here normally. So apparently the house looked like that. The most telling thing was
a smell of bleach somewhere?
The first officer to arrive notices scratch marks down Bayden Clay's face. And he says nothing, and Bayden Clay says to him, oh, before you say anything, I've been told, I know it looks suspicious. Who's told him? I don't know. Who told
Myself
you? I
don't know.
In the mirror. It was a shaving. I did it with a razor.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, okay, yeah, you're right. It doesn't look like that. Anyway, so that officer immediately goes and calls someone and says, get everybody out here now. Like,
there's something
now.
Here.
And I've read that there were 80 policemen out and about within the first day looking for Allison and, sweeping the area. She was so highly thought of in the community that apparently it's like one of the biggest search efforts that Queensland has ever seen. And I think it was that idea of a mother wouldn't walk out on her 3 young daughters. Like, people just don't buy that. So people were really genuinely worried about where she had gone or what had happened to her. So a huge search starts, and they set up a command at the local showground. And I've seen people interviewed who were there and running the thing. He did not go there once. Her parents, her maiden name is Dickey, so Mr. and Mrs. Dickey were there all the time. They were the ones who made the public appeal, so you can see that online. And it's horrendous. It's this mother, obviously an elderly lady, sobbing, asking, please, if you've got any information, I just can't live without my daughter and the thought of something happening to her and these beautiful girls. Please, let's do everything we can to find my daughter. So the whole community rose. There were people down mine shafts, up trees. Look, I mean, it was just insane because, as I said, they lived in a semi-rural area. So beyond that, it becomes increasingly rural, obviously, and lots of think of Queensland. It's usually pretty overgrown, stuff like that. So there were creeks and rivers and this, that, and the other. And there were just so many people involved in the search for Allison. Whilst the search was going on, the very first day he went and got himself a criminal lawyer. He was also
nothing says I'm not guilty, lawyering up
that
before you're even
that
charged.
was day one. Yep, that was day one. He had Googled, I cannot remember what it was, but it was like incriminating, I think, what happens, like sentences and different bits and like just stupid, obvious stuff. And he just would not be seen publicly. He was hiding out at his, I don't know where the girls were. I presume the daughters must have gone to the grandparents. He was with his parents, and it was very strange. Like, I saw somebody interviewed in one of the documentaries that I watched, and at one point, like well before any of this happened, he went with his mother and father to a meeting. His parents are with him, and the man was laughing and going, I don't know, I think it's pretty hard to take someone seriously who's there with their mum and dad. And he said, but his mum and dad were as proud as punch. Like, they were just a bit weird. I think they would have stood by him no matter what. Anyway, so everybody was desperate to get a feel as to what was going on with him. Where is he? Why isn't he helping? Why isn't he asking for help? Anyway, a Channel 9 reporter kind of staked out, his parents' house, and she saw an open door, or she yelled, and she got him to come over to the camera. Anyway, he was looking, there was bad eye count. His sister was with him. She looked so uncomfortable. And at that point, he sort of says, well, if anyone's got information, please help find my wife, whatever else. Anyway, then that's the end of that. There's not much to it. So the girl from Channel 9 calls the detectives, whatever else, and says, I've got this footage. I've just seen him. And they're like, you've got footage of him. Have you got footage of him? Can you see anything on his face? And she's like, what do you mean there's nothing on his face? They said, go have a look. And she said, oh my God, the whole time he's got his face turned away from the camera where this is all
scratches
down his face. Yep. So they were like, oh, rightio. So he's obviously hiding that. And so
it's a shame. I thought you were going to say it had got infected and this giant pustule on the side of his face.
A festering monkey bite.
Yeah.
So, there's also other information coming back. Priscilla Dickey, who is
his sister or mum?
Allison's mother. Allison's mother,
sorry,
starts to question. She said, actually there was a time that I saw Allison had bruises at the house, and I remember thinking to myself, gosh, she's not an easy bruiser. I'm surprised by that. And there were just a few things that sort of people started to
benefit
sort of think,
of hindsight.
Her girlfriends from school never liked him. They were always like, he's awful to her, like doesn't even hide it. And they said she would never leave him. She would never leave the girls. She was all about being the best mum she could, and they weren't buying it. So they were pretty like, what's this guy done? So 10 days later, a body is found under the Colo Bridge. And the Colo Bridge is about 14 kilometres away from their home in Brookfield. So she's found under a bridge in this creek that runs into the Brisbane River. And a man is on a kayak or a canoe, I can't remember which one, on a morning, what do you call it? Paddle. He's actually a professor at the University of Brisbane. So he has seen all the mock-ups that they've had in terms of there was like a mannequin with her outfit and whatever else. He said everybody was watching. He said it was a huge, huge news story. He goes, you have to have been under a rock not to know. And he said, and I looked over and he said, and I thought, what's that? He said, then I thought, oh, it's a body. Oh, I recognise the outfit.
Oh,
and then he said, I got the smell. He said, he said, there was no point me going over. So he goes home immediately and calls the police.
Yeah, right.
So they announce that they've found a body, and it takes a little bit of time for them to identify that it's her, obviously through records and whatever else. But sure enough, Jared Bayden Clay makes a call to his life insurance company that day.
That quickly?
Well, because it's for $1 million and that's how much he owes.
And if she had committed suicide, would he get the money?
I don't know. I don't know
Just
the answer to
That
that.
day, though.
Oh, no,
That day.
that is all disgusting. But the reason I'm asking is just because she's under a bridge. Like, so was it to make it look like she jumped off a bridge?
When I say it was under a bridge, no, I don't think that was the case.
Okay.
I think it was just
like a troll under a bridge.
It was a very high,
stuck in the mud.
Like a cement pylons were sort of coming out, and she was on the riverbank.
Yeah.
But they think that she was put there in the hope that the tide would take her away, but it didn't.
Right.
So it was kind of like she would have ended up somewhere else, but didn't quite
pan out
that way.
Okay.
Correct. So he's gone and done that. And as somebody said, the
What an
arrogance,
idiot.
like again, this confidence that he has in himself to think that you can do these things and there's no record.
Doesn't look.
He works out that he can't call Tony McHugh, so he goes to a phone booth and calls her. And at one point he calls her. First of all, she doesn't believe it, of course, and he says, maybe not say anything about the affair. Then she gets called in by the police because they obviously work out who he's been diddling and what's been going on. And he calls her from a phone booth and she answers while she's actually being questioned.
Interviewed.
And he's like, can you talk? And she's like, not really. He's like, well...
Let me just put you on speaker.
Just trying to manipulate everybody and the optics on the whole thing, trying to be ahead, but not really. So where things become quite interesting, everybody thinks, he's done it. And then the public is baying for him, like, it's the husband, what's going on? And nothing happens. So that was the 30th of April. So the 20th of April is the day she goes missing. 10 days later, the body is found. It's confirmed. And then everybody's sort of expecting something to happen. And it doesn't happen because although the police are sure it's him, they really want to know that it's not just circumstantial evidence.
They want to put him away.
More than this, they want to
get him banged to rights.
Scratch. Yes.
Epithelials under the fingernails.
Exactly right.
Just 2 nails.
But she's been in the water, so
that's not that. So
yeah.
where things get really interesting is what they end up doing is when she's taken from the creek side, she has her hair's matted and she's got like all this sort of, do we call it leaf litter? When there's like leaf litter. Yeah. Yep. There's all this sort of leaf litter in her hair. And so what they do is there's a guy
who work
who's like
out where the leaves come from. Yeah.
Correct. Yep. The guy who is the head of I'm going to get it wrong, the herbatorium or something like that. That's a different name, something like that. And one of the most knowledgeable people in the world happens to be in Queensland. So he helped them. What he was able to do is, first of all, he was able to identify the species that were in her hair, and there were 6. And then they went and they did a big circle.
Where are they
growing?
Where have they come from?
Checked. Only 2 of them occurred at the creek.
Wow.
All 6 of them occurred in their backyard.
Oh, wow.
And they can actually see where all the leaf litter was in their backyard. So what they say they can surmise from that is that
where she's fallen,
she was murdered or something. Yeah, something. So, and she's been dragged through that leaf litter.
Wow.
Because then in the car, there was her blood in the boot. So then they had the blood, they had where she'd come from the house. It wasn't, because what they also did was this same guy, they tracked the entire area from the house in Brookfield through to the Colo Bridge. They checked all the trees, the whole way along to see if there was another place where there was 6. So if she had have fallen foul, that's the word I'm after, the saying after.
You're right. Fallen foul somewhere else.
Fallen foul something else.
Like taken
something
her,
happened to her. Correct.
Killed her there.
Because they were saying she's on a long walk. Yeah, she's been kidnapped or she's been run over or something.
Is there another possibility? Yeah.
Correct. And again, the whole thing, there were only the 2 the whole way through. There was not even, there were 4 or 5. The 2, the entire journey, the 6 were in the backyard.
Wow.
So from that they were, and then the deterioration, the age of the leaves based on what season it was, yada, yada, yada. Like it was just so precise. So then they knew that she had been dragged
through the backyard
through the backyard and put in a car and then taken to the Colo Bridge. On the 13th of June, so again, like 6 weeks later, is when he's finally taken in and formally charged. So by that point, everybody's really ready and he is, let me check what he is charged with because it does matter because it changes throughout the investigation because they couldn't determine the cause of death. But they think what might have happened might have been that he was trying to suffocate her. And the one thing that her friends, when they were interviewed, they were like, we are so proud of her. This is so not in her nature. But for her to have fought and to do this to try and survive and also try and get that I'm going to show what's going on here. I think this is one of these takeouts from Trial by Wine is
always scratch them. Always get some evidence.
God,
yeah.
Go
bite them.
nuts. So,
remember that Susan woman I did recently? Bit through his jeans with his pants.
Fucking on the nutsack. Whatever it was.
Because it was. She was like, if I'm going to die, I'm taking the evidence. I'm marking this person. Exactly your point.
Yep.
Yes. So 13th of June 2012, he was formally interviewed at Indooroopilly Police Station charged with Allison's murder and for interfering with her corpse. He maintained his innocence and said he would be strenuously defending the charges. Gerard's bail application was denied on 22 June because Justice David Boss said he posed a significant flight risk. He sure did. So the trial began 2 years later in the Brisbane Supreme Court on the 10th of June 2014. Gerard pleaded not guilty to the charges.
Jerry.
And he chose to speak and
give it a bone, Jerry.
Stand or act for himself.
I have seen this described. This is described on 60 Minutes by Tara Brown. She said that he used the lies defense, which was, I was lying, but now I'm telling the truth. And that's actually what he said. Everything was like, well, I know I said that, but that was a lie. This is the truth. I'm telling you the truth now.
Serious? How does that get someone credibility?
Now?
The point was, I think, that she said he really didn't, not enamor, but didn't do any favours with the jury. They were like, oh, God, no.
Guilty.
So good, yeah. So on July 15, he was found guilty of murdering Allison. He was given a life sentence with a non-parole period of 15 years, and the charge of interfering with a corpse was dropped. But there is an interesting thing that's happened, and a lot of the documents and stuff that I sort of had read were from this time, so they were from 2012. Some of the things were before they even found the body, then happening, then the court case, whatever else. But he actually appealed. So on the 7th of August 2015, Gerard appealed his conviction to the Queensland Court of Appeal, and his conviction was downgraded in December of that year to manslaughter on the ground that the evidence of the trial was not able to exclude a reasonable hypothesis that there was a physical confrontation between Bayden Clay and his wife in which he delivered a blow which killed her, for example, by the effects of a fall hitting her head against a hard surface without intending to cause harm. Well, the public were not happy. There was a mass sort of outpouring of outrage. People were really not pleased.
Do you know if that hypothesis had been put forward by the defence in the initial trial?
I feel like it was, but I don't know, because I thought I'd read somewhere that they were sort of saying, they were arguing and that something's happened. But
it's weird because
I don't know.
Often in certain cases where there is only a smattering of evidence, it'll be down to whether the trial believes the prosecution's theory of what happened versus what the defence says what happened. So it's interesting in this one to say that after an appeal, it's like, they couldn't disprove that didn't happen. But if the jury were happy to say...
They don't have to disprove every scenario,
and I find that odd. But anyway, the public got really annoyed by the sound of it. And then what happened?
Yes, it's quite interesting because it says...
The lynch mob formed.
It was a little bit like that. There was strong public reaction and there was a large rally was organised calling for an appeal in the High Court. On December 18, a crowd estimated of around 4,000 people gathered in King George Square in the centre of Brisbane to support the proposal that it be appealed. Some members of the legal profession in turn were vocal in defending the decision handed down by the Court of Appeal. Prominent Queensland lawyer Terry O'Gorman, for example, said, "You don't have a murder case or any other case decided by who can yell out loudest in the media, and that those who don't like it have to cop it because this is the law." However, in an unusual move, the Queensland Director of Public Prosecutions decided to appeal against the downgrade. The following year, on the 31st of August 2016, more than 4 years after she had died, the High Court of Australia restored the original trial murder conviction.
Cop that.
So the lawyer said, tough shit, people are allowed to appeal whether the public like it or not. Is that what he was saying?
No, not really. He was more saying, you guys kind of can't come out here and complain about this just because there's a lot of you and make a big noise.
Yeah.
If this is what's happening, you can't do this for every case, right? Do you know what I mean? The law is the law. This is what has been decided. So he was saying, I just because lots of you turned up in the media,
just because you're all whinging doesn't mean that this guy doesn't have a right to have an appeal and that they've done the right thing.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't saying an injustice would happen. He was saying it was okay what had happened. The law had done its job.
by allowing the appeal, they're all then going, it needs to be repealed.
Just because you don't like it doesn't mean.
But so what I'm saying is, regardless of whether an injustice has happened, which in their eyes it had by him downgrading, by the
judge
sentence being downgraded.
The Court of Appeal.
Yeah, so you should be able to, of course, protest if you think an injustice has happened. And the fact that he's saying the law is the law and you shouldn't be able to do that is nonsense.
Or just tough shit. I get that you don't want people to be tried on the court of public opinion. Fair enough.
It's a very different argument to
say people should not complain if we let a mass murderer out because they won an appeal. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's almost confusing the way the law works with the protest and going, the protest is the
problem
sentence. Sorry, is the trial. The protest is not the trial.
No. It's saying
it's about trying to get another trial.
Do it again, people. You've got that wrong. Yep.
Yeah.
And when they reestablished his sentence and his charge, I assume they didn't say, and we'll start again at the 15 years now.
I don't think so. There's no mention of that.
Is there any minimum non-parole term for a life sentence in Queensland? 15 years.
I don't know. I thought it might have been 15.
That's all.
I thought so. I thought it was going to be 30 or something.
25.
No, it's 15. Yeah.
I wonder if that's changed since then too, if there was.
Yeah, I don't know. There's not much of sort of anything fairly recent. One thing I did find, well, I guess it's not odd, it probably is important, but there were articles about her estate. So that was from 2017. Judge rules in favour of Allison's parents to control daughter's $1 million estate, including life insurance payout and superannuation. So it was to say they will get it and he doesn't get any of it.
That's right.
Who was going to give it to him? Jesus.
He's in jail.
I've seen that recently where there's a lot of outrage about superannuation of victims of domestic violence going to the person who
killed them.
Was the murderer. Yeah. Because superannuation works in a very strange...
Isn't that crazy?
Well, no, that must be a binding death nomination or something, or the superannuation is being left to the estate. It's a very confused space, I think.
Then I thought I'd like to tell you where is he now? What was the latest thing I could find? This is actually from 2020, and the headline was wife killer Allison Bayden Clay banned from prison duties for alleged inappropriate touching.
Who is he touching inappropriately?
Convicted wife murderer Allison Bayden Clay.
Anyone in arm's length?
Has been twice banned from working as a carer behind bars as an ongoing punishment for allegedly...
As a carer?
Yeah, for inappropriately touching an officer.
What?
Bayden Clay's role as a paid carer for other inmates ended when he touched a male prison officer's buttocks last October at the Wollston Correctional Centre.
How very dare he?
The officer was lining up prisoners when he was assaulted, according to the Courier Mail at the time. The incident was captured on CCTV, deemed an assault, and referred to the Queensland detectives attached to the Corrective Services Investigation Unit. As a result, management moved Bayden Clay to a different unit at Wollston's Correctional Centre, Queensland's only protection prison, which houses high-profile criminals as well as adult and child sex offenders. Then at the end of January, staff complained to management, angry that Bayden Clay was working again as a carer for another inmate in the new unit. He was quickly removed from the role. Staff said carer jobs are much sought after in the prison as they are positions of trust and have long-term benefits for prisoners as they move towards lowering their security classifications. I don't doubt it. Apparently he's been previously described as a model prisoner.
Oh, yeah. Well, he hasn't got
surprise.
He's got $1 million debt and a wife that he doesn't
She
really
lights
need.
up the room, or they light up the room, and the model prisoner, they're just, how many times have we said them? Anyway, so that's where he's at. And then as a sort of a bit of a footnote and something that's actually really lovely, the three daughters. So this actually came up on my Facebook, probably, I don't know, my Facebook, it's like an old person, on the Facebook.
On the Facebook, that's what Mum used to call it.
On the Facebook, maybe a month ago or so. And it was a photograph of the three girls who are now, full, I guess, late teenagers, gorgeous, three of them smiling, because there is a charity in their mother's name. So it's called the Allison Bayden Clay Foundation, and it's for domestic violence. So I just thought it was beautiful the way they described their mum in this thing. And actually, this is their words of how they saw, the charity. Allison Bayden Clay accomplished many things in life. A university graduate who spoke 6 languages, warm, talented, and intelligent. Her passion was ballet, and she lit up stage when she danced. A high achiever, she was crowned Miss Brisbane in 1993. And she says that who he married. They seemed to have it all, but Allison was keeping a secret from close friends and family. Her husband was not the charming salesman he presented to the world, but a controlling narcissist who began isolating her as soon as they married. A man who tormented her about her appearance, told her she was worthless, was unfaithful to her behind her back, and used their savings to prop up his failing business. For many years, Allison blamed herself and tried to make her marriage work. However, more than anything, she wanted her children to grow up in a happy home, and this was her life goal. Allison's family is passionate in helping others in similar situations and encourages everyone to educate themselves on the signs of domestic and family violence. Once we understand the signs, we can equip ourselves with the correct skills to intervene effectively. Being able to recognise the signs of domestic and family violence is the first step towards prevention. In Allison's case, there were many signs, some more overt than others. Some of them included isolation, control of finance, depletion of self-esteem. It goes on and just sort of saying, how the thought of 3 girls missing their mother mobilised the community. Volunteers joined emergency services to comb the surrounding forest, dams and abandoned mine shaft. As the search went on, a wall of flowers and cards formed at the front fence of the Bayden Clay home. The worst fear was realised when they found the body, and then it sort of goes on to talk about how he was found, guilty. The couple's daughters were 10, 8 and 5 when Allison vanished. She will never see the women that they will become under the guidance of her loving family, who have vowed to raise them with Allison's values and spirit. Allison's story shocked and captivated the nation. The Allison Bayden Clay Foundation hopes the story will help others reach out. So I thought that was really beautiful. And one last thing was, in March of 2018, there was the first annual scholarship in Allison's memory for an aspiring ballet dancer was announced by the Queensland Premier at the time, Anastasia Palaszczuk, who she'd known since she was a child. They'd grown up together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she had a big impact on a lot of people and was just a really beautiful woman who ended up marrying
the wrong person.
But
But what was it? Susan Kuhnhausen said something like, I was sentenced because I married the wrong man. Do you remember that? I got a life sentence by marrying the wrong man.
Yes, wrong man, yeah.
I think that's pretty much what happened to poor Allison. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes, that's the story of Allison Bayden Clay and Jared Bayden Clay.
Glass rod for a start.
Yeah, I kind of feel like because he's such a narcissist and he's so, everything about his lineage was so important to him. I think that's the thing that you could do, is you could get in the timey-wimey machine, take him back to introduce him to his great-grandfather, who takes one look at him and says, you are a terrible disappointment.
Yeah, you're a disgrace.
And you are disowned, and you are to never use my name again.
Yeah.
And you are to never mention any association with me because you're just shit. Dib, dib, dib.
Dib, 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 dob, dob, dob. Yeah, you certainly didn't do your best.
No, you did not. I think that would be.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's a good one because Bayden Powell is a household name. And in Australia, I think Bayden Clay is in some regard and for completely different reasons.
Look what you've done. Look what you've done. The shame on you.
You sucked everything that was good out of this name and turned it into this.
Yes.
Single-handedly.
You're foul.
As Darren Hinge would say, shame.
Maybe that's what we need to do. Walk him through the streets of King's Landing in the nude while everyone throws shit and rotten fruit and everything.
And Darren Hinge at the front with a bell going, shame. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, God.
How awful. I mean, I saw it coming, unfortunately.
I didn't quite know how to sort of, you knew it was going to happen in a way, but it was just, it's just, I think the story for me, or the interesting part is, again, that these people are so arrogant to think that they can just manipulate, lie, cheat, do whatever else, and then put this sort of Mr. Middle Class veneer on it to suggest that, that they think that they're better than everyone else and make people feel they're better than that, better than them. He's done it to his own wife.
Yep.
They have this sort of like knack of just being the most disingenuous. I have no time. It makes me sick.
If you are listening to this as an Australian listener and you are affected by domestic violence, help is available. You can call 1-800-RESPECT, and they have an official website, which is also 1-800-RESPECT.org.au. Reach out to someone. Do not put up with this shit on your own.
No.
So, Clarkie, what are we going to do? Apart from Darren Hinch, of course.
Oh, well, yeah, no, I was thinking the nude walk of shame through
it's like the Game
King's
of Thrones.
Landing.
Yes, the Game of Thrones thing.
Yeah. But I think, like, I remember the case a bit, and he just seemed so guilty the whole way through.
Yeah,
like, there wasn't a moment that worse, I reckon. There was not a moment that you could believe.
I don't think there was anybody else even in the running, right?
No, I don't think there was ever a credible
other story.
Yeah. Like, it was just that whole thing of, no, it wasn't me. I don't know. She went for a walk, and I don't remember it in detail, but that's kind of my recollection, that it was just so affronting to think that he didn't do it, and I don't think it was necessarily the media portraying him like that. I'm sure there would have been some of that, but I felt like he portrayed himself like that.
I think he was through his actions, or lack of actions.
I mean, he played it all wrong, right? And like Scott Peterson was a bit the same. I know he went to the memorial, but then he was on the phone saying he was in Paris, remember?
Oh, I mean, that sort of thing was ridiculous. I mean, yeah.
But recently, I think it was last year, remember the lady who disappeared in Ballarat, and she went out for a jog.
Oh, yeah.
And
she
went
out,
and she was murdered, and they have arrested the person who did that.
It was a young guy, wasn't it?
He was,
but for quite some time, up until they made that arrest, the public were looking firmly at the husband.
Yeah.
There was, I remember this whole trial by media business, the husband had photographed laughing at something a policeman had said. And that was it. It was, he's guilty. He's done it.
Yeah.
In that moment, he was caught laughing about something. And we've seen it in other things. Oh, no, a case that I would like to cover that I haven't covered yet is another one of these where people's behaviour around something makes people think, they've done whatever, when it doesn't necessarily prove anything. And people respond differently in times of stress as well.
True.
But his behaviour, this guy is lawyering up before even anyone said anything.
Yeah.
I mean, the scratch on your face. I mean, fuck off,
They're
mate.
not helping. He never turned up to help search for her at all.
The minute she shows up,
weird.
ringing the insurance company, right, can I have my money? Like, I'm just disappointed it took them this long to find her. I've been trying to get my cash. Yeah.
10 days too long.
Even the 7:14, I don't know where she goes for a walk, and I haven't seen her. Like, what?
It's very early, isn't it? Like, I mean, it's very quick to do that. She's gone missing.
Well, it's just the whole timeline seems wrong. That she might have gone for a walk. I mean, maybe it was 5 o'clock in the morning, but it's quick if
you're ringing at 7:14 and worrying at that point. You'd wait till, I don't know, 11 in the morning. She went out this morning and she hasn't come back.
Ring some of her friends before you ring.
Yeah. He just played it completely wrong. Yep. He did it. I don't think there's really any question of it.
I can't believe it. I've forgotten something else.
Major. Yeah.
Oh my God, I forgot about this.
Oh, there was another suspect.
No, there wasn't. There was something else, like in terms of he had like a rash or like a graze on his body.
More evidence.
And he said it was from a caterpillar.
What?
Like a furry caterpillar had some kind of reaction.
That makes sense.
And they were able to say that there were no caterpillars. And then he had a car, I can't believe I forgot this. He had a car accident like on the day that she went missing.
Is that how the blood got in the car?
No, that was to cover up one of his like scratches or something like that.
He prayed the car.
They think he prayed the car just
deliberately
think like a little bingle to say that it wasn't just the caterpillar or the razor. And the razor, of course, when it was tested, had no blood on it.
He really was having a bad day. He had a shaving cut. He had an attack of the killer caterpillar. He had a car accident.
Yes, that's right. The caterpillar. How did I forget the caterpillar?
I know. Was it a Spitfire? Remember those?
I don't know what that means. It rings a bell, but
I don't know. Are they bogon? Are they the bogon moths?
Are they black and hairy?
They're black and hairy, and they spit chewed up sap at you as a defense mechanism. And they're in a massive pile of each other.
So, God, that's taking me back to my childhood.
Yeah, people used to squash them on the ground. It was awful. They'd fall on the ground and kids would kill them. I thought it was terrible. They really were just...
I don't think exist anymore.
No, they were just spitting out of defence, the poor things. Anyway. All right. Swanny, what do you want to do with him?
I don't know. I obviously, I go into that same territory of trying to take away the things that are important to him. But I mean,
You're
the only
right.
thing that I could
We
think of
should
is that he was
castrate
just
him.
somebody. Yeah, well, there's that. But just that, I mean, it's just his name and his how he identifies as this sort of
Bruce Overland.
Yeah, this guy who excellence and loyalty and whatever else.
Ethics.
I don't know. I don't know. I just don't think it's very difficult. And this is something that will come up time and time again because so many of the people who commit these types of crimes
are
these
narcissists or psychopaths
exactly.
Quite
so
right.
The normal rules don't apply.
That's right.
So I can just
NQR.
lock them away. And I just think these poor girls lost both their father and their mother because
that's
of
terrible.
his ridiculousness.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, is there anything that I could punish him through them? But I don't even know if that would work. I mean, and the thing is, if he sees them now, he'll think they're amazing because they're his daughters, not because they were raised by his in-laws. They're Bayden Powell, exactly.
Yep.
So that'll be lost as well. Every time I go down the road, I think that might work for me, but it's not going to work for him because of his personality traits. So I don't really know what to add, darling. It's truthful. Maybe we'll just leave him in prison being touched.
Well,
by carers.
Yeah, he's not able to touch. He gets touched and he doesn't like it.
Could you not put like a picture of your face on him and dangle him in Wigger's backyard? and she'd sort him out.
Do I really have to be involved? I mean, really?
Sorry, too much.
Really, too much. Oh my god! I don't want that woman. I don't want to be on her radar.
I'm sure you're not.
That's pretty
I'm sure you're not.
Yeah, you're pretty safe, I think.
Imagine if she was able to sort of. You know how we used to have media monitors?
Stream.
Imagine if she looked up Wiggers. Imagine if she Googled
melt water.
You would ever check.
She's got melt water, and
she looks up.
Yep.
Yeah, she looks
on her
up
phone. She gets a media alert.
Wiggers.
Wiggers.
And all of a sudden, there's like 1,000 references, and she's like, "What's
ping?
What's this? What's this? Who are these who are talking about me?"
Yeah.
That's my big fear that media monitors are going to give her.
I wouldn't worry about it.
She'd show him some indecent touching.
Oh,
she'd sort him out. Yeah,
she would.
Oh my god, that's not me.
Well, on that note, I think.
No, yes.
Very good job. That's another sad story. Too much of it. As I said, 1-800-RESPECT. If you are in a situation or speak to your doctor, call the police, reach out to someone. And on that note, as we say every week, miss you already.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Trial by Wine. You can contact us at trialbywine@gmail.com. Please rate, review and subscribe to Trial by Wine on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to support us, you can become a patron at www.patreon.com, Trial by Wine, or visit our website www.trialbywine.com to donate to us. Your support will help us cover many more cases and apply wacky sentences. We really appreciate you listening and hope you tell everyone about us. Our cover art is by John Christo and music is by Beauchamp from pixabay.com.